night, in my opinion. I don't
I
know
kind
why.
of feel like the street food here is probably really, really good. I don't know if what's in it is good for you, but I do sort of look at it from this perspective of I wonder how the food would taste here.
It's always about food with you. Just always
It
about
really
food.
is. I mean, I have no shame. I'm just... it is what comes to mind.
Alright, well CLG is going to be running the pharmacy here. That is what they ran a little bit earlier and looked rather good on it, and it is a pure dive coming out from LG Evil, of course, on their newer roles. Vol on the Winston instead of Super, who will be playing Diva.
And we'll see just how this matchup works out right now, as both teams have a contrast in how they're playing this. But Hydration, you can expect to be using the outskirts to his advantage, using the height of Pharah, and he goes in for both supports right now, but it's mitigated in the beginning. The defense matrix deals with some of the pressure, but it's not enough to keep Rob 420 alive. 5 versus 5 here, both teams down to support, but LG Evil definitely controlling more of the ground right now.
Yeah, Shiny tried to rotate on the outside, but he was met with a vast tinnitus gun, if you will, launched him right off the edge, and these are all kills going in favor of LG Evil so far. Silk Thread's still in here, trying to get something done, but it is a 2v5 on the point. Silk, though, pulling it back. He's got 2 supports, 1 DPS, and Silk presenting a threat that they don't want to deal with. Silk has single-handedly brought this back.
Silk brings it back and then some. We were watching Hydration to the backlines, but the real story was Silk deep in the trenches, able to get the kills, needed to bring that back, and also Hydration is still throwing down suppressing fire that entire time. No one is able to get on him, and for LG, a team that it looked like they had that fight all but wrapped up, they're not able to do it. Now they have to deal with the resurrection on top of everything else moving into this next fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Silk, of course, is going to have his Pulse Bomb out. That's how much damage he did early on. They will step toes out here, trying to deal with Hydration. They send in Super first so that the defense matrix can mitigate it, and they're going to drop in a Sound Barrier as well.
Barrett comes in here, LG Evil committing a lot to this fight, but only to get barraged and turn Vol out of it immediately. Silk Thread demeching Super. The tanks are in short supply for LG Evil as CLG continues to apply pressure, and they zone them out of the fight.
Extremely patient play there from Hydration. He was throwing in rockets, of course, but defense matrix finally went down, and when that happens, Vol dropped his bubble, but then the bubble got cracked. When both those things are out of the mix, he pops the barrage, lives it to tell the tale of the barrage. Just great patient Pharah play.
Not enough to keep Rob 420 alive. 5 versus 5. A little bit of an echo, but now you have Train with the Dragon Blade ready to come in to this fight, holding on to it, and for now, holding it as an anti-air option, going in for Shake. So close yet so far. Shake able to give him the slip. Train is not going to be able to get in on that one, and meanwhile, we're talking about the Silk Thread story here, Hex.
Well, Miso tried to do a self-destruct, but got knocked off the edge. I believe it. No, he was able to come back through that. And now it is Silk Thread again. He bombs out one support. Rob does fall shortly after. It has been nothing but CLG on the board so far. And there's just been quiet play from nearly everyone. The tanks are having a difficult time playing together for LG Evil, and that's making sure that the DPS remain extremely quiet.
It has been tough so far, to say the least, here for LG Evil. This is their final attempt, and already they are wounded on the way in. Silk Thread doing whatever he wants into the back. The front being held strong by Hydration and iShiny, and this might be a very quick round indeed in favor of CLG. They're getting everything they want and more, and last few members of LG Evil live on the point, but Super will hit a limit. He's going to get demeched here, and doesn't really feel like they have many outs here, Hex.
No, not at all, and that resurrection brought everyone back to life. 100% to 0. First stage of Lijiang Tower goes in favor of Counter Logic Gaming.
We knew this was a possibility coming in because of how close CLG played Immortals earlier in the day, but this is a tough reckoning right now for LG Evil. Because of the two teams, I think CLG, if they were to lose this year, it'd be, alright, it's somewhat understandable. You're going against LG Evil, and they had a good showing against Immortals, so why not? I mean, they can still leave the day with their heads held high, but I think this is a comparatively much larger disaster for LG Evil if they're not able to bring this one through, because this is an elimination match.
Yeah, to go home on day one after a lackluster performance in Overwatch Contender Season 0, you have to really start wondering about what LG Evil's future is. What am I missing? What are you chuckling at?
Oh, it's basically the part where my web browser loaded in the background. after restarting, and it actually treated people to a much larger version of myself. Listening to me to begin with is rough, so me amped up by like 3 million decibels, not great. But that is behind us now, and speaking of behind, CLG looking to get behind LG Evil early on this fight. Jake down immediately, and again, CLG can just control space right now, and Hydration picking apart the backline. Both supports are in his domain, and Hydration gonna start this out very excellently.
Obviously nothing really going right for LG Evil right now, but I think the crux of this is that the tanks are having a hard time figuring out how to work together. Even there, you saw the Winston come down from Vol, but Super not having his Matrix up right where it needed to be means that Vol falls right in that time, and your tanks have to be able to work together. That's how a lot of the processes for the Overwatch World Cup teams went, is can these tanks work together? It's such an important part of the game.
Well, Vol's going to lead the way, charging right to the back line, but all this is going on. It's Hydration getting his pick of the supports in the back, getting onto a Voss, double teaming into the back with iShiny, and CLG again having a better dive here so far than what we're seeing from LG Evil. And I mean, to me right now, Hex, it's coming down to coordination, and CLG just appears to be operating on a higher level.
It does seem that way. Although, I guess the good thing is they finally got some kills there. It's been rather barren for them to try to pick up eliminations, and we're able to get 3, but still not able to get any pressure on the point. And again, the DPSs have been quiet, and it comes down to the space the tanks are creating.
Hydration played out in the back. Not a whole lot health-wise, and not a whole lot to go into anyways. The Transcendence stopping him flat. He's going to get taken out here, and this will be LG Evil's first take of the round, but it might even be a first take of the map. Did they even get a take on the last round?
They did not. 100% to 0 on the night market. So already an improvement here. Maybe they just need to warm up a little, although they just played. So
I think they need to cool down a little bit before warming up is probably how that one goes, but they do have a decent setup here. They are going to have to deal with the Transcendence coming in, but there's multiple ways they can win this fight. Right now, holding on to that point, holding a bit back. CLG with plenty of options to deep dive right into them. And look at Silk Thread. He's on a journey right now, going all the way to the back, away, and Train not able to dodge Miso. Ends up falling here early on, and this engage measured from CLG and working out thus far.
Transcend comes in for CLG as Silk Thread continues to terrorize tanks in the back line. Super goes down to that. The Sound Barrier came out for LG Evil, but was not able to be aggressive on it because that Transcend came out. Now Hydration is dash resetting through here, and so close to getting the point. The last couple of kills come through, flip back over for counter logic.
The scary thing for me is that even though it's 52% to 63 right now, CLG has looked every bit the more dominant team right now, in a way that LG Evil has not even really been close here so far. So if they're going to have a big play where they come from behind, it's going to have to come down where they're going into a disadvantaged ult situation. And this is where heroes are made, right? This is where you need someone like Train to go in, get multiple kills with Dragon Blade, and not have Hydration do the same to LG Evil in turn.
Well, Soundbearer comes out. That means that Train's going to have to hold the blade at least for a second. They get really deep in the backline, though. Super with a nice dive onto Shake takes him out of the fight. Hydration, I believe, used his blade early, and here comes Train's blade.
Train's blade, I'm not sure Train knows where he's going with this blade. Eventually gets a Diva mech, but that is going to be it. It's not as high impact as he would have liked, and LG Evil just pushed out of the fight. They weren't able to get the engage they're looking for, and now they're stuck looking for a miracle where they're trickling in, they're down in numbers, and they have to look for some form or way of bringing this one back.
Oh, they're going to transcend Desperation onto the point, but Silk Thread again. He has shown up in the kill feed every time. He's nailing every single pulse bomb that he's really looking for, or at least a high percentage of them. Now CLG just looks to evict the rest of the point. 2-0 CLG. It was closer. It was closer if I'm being an optimist.
I think it was closer in the way that the game made it look closer than it was on percentage, but it felt like CLG was in total control the entire time.
You're right.
And in general, it was just cleaner play. They had engagements where they came in together at the same time more readily. They were more able to convert on kills that should be kills, and LG Evil just came across as sloppy. There's really no other way of saying it.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that they should run the triple DPS that they're queued up on right now? I mean, nothing's worked so far. Never mind, Super switches off as 76. Question stands.
I don't know. I mean, for LG Evil, there's part of me that would like to see them go back to how they used to run roles. I mean, clearly they've made this change for a reason. They've probably scribbed with it heavily in the lead up to this, so it's not something they can easily change, but it has been tough for them. And look at this dive in from CLG, immediately suffocating on to LG Evil, but this time, iShiny pays a little bit of a price. But meanwhile, you have Hydration in the air. Plenty of room for him to work with here, as he's like rocket after rocket in the Vol, who barely gets away with his life.
Well, Jake has come alive as he's able to take down the combo mostly by himself. There lands a clip, does take out Miso as well, so Jake's had enough of this so far. He's able to get all the kills they need, but there is still Silk Thread to deal with as he comes in and grabs himself 1.5.
We're in the era of comeback tracers here. Jake looked like he might have been able to flip that one back for LG Evil, but Silk Thread says anything you can do, I can also do. Finally falling here the train, but damage has been done as CLG is able to reestablish right back onto the point.
I don't think that's how the saying goes. Anything you can do,
I
can also do.
I was going to say that. I've said that so many times, I just altered it on the fly and probably lost impact on it. Thank you, Nick. I feel sufficiently put on blast right now for not saying anything you can do, I can do better.
Well, that's like the song, right? Anyway, they do capture the point, now ticking up for CLG, already 2-0 in this map right now, looking to lock out LG Evil. LG Evil's tanks get on the point, able to demech and delete Miso. Meanwhile, Silk has found himself a support in the back line. You might as well just count on that every 30 seconds or so.
Super has been remarkably consistent here, if nothing else. It hasn't been enough to flip it over in favor of LG Evil as the barrage from Hydration somehow gets through the Matrix early on. But at least it's been some consistent production from LG Evil in a fight that so far has not gone their way. Even when they've had somewhat of an edge, they haven't been able to reflip this point, which has been immensely bad for them here.
Dueling sound barriers come out. We'll see who ends up with the kills out here. A Blade will come in, supported by the Transcendence as Train goes to town. Both supports now down for CLG. You have to imagine eventually this will flip in LGE's favor. Just a matter of stall out now. Stall out not going to come too much. Tracer lurking.
This time, Train and Jake got the cleanup they were looking for this time. Mercifully, his Silk Thread bites the dust, but 60% to 2. This is looking very good for CLG here so far, and they even have the Resurrection, the supplement going into the next fight.
They do. Jake has played better this stage than his prior one, so maybe he can get in here with a Pulse Bomb. They try to enter over the bridge, but already Rob eats a giant rocket early on. Gonna hurt this defense.
CLG already working from a good maneuver here, and Shake's so low, but still alive, gets saved at the last moment, but not for too long. Finally, the kill does get finished at the end. The escape not as great as it was initially looking at, and Train able to come back in over the top. So even though LG Evil is getting a little bit pummeled here, they've been able to hold control, but for how long is Silk Thread is just going off on the outskirts?
Well, that's 3 kills from Silk Thread there as he keeps it alive for his team. They've got a decent percentage going on the point, looking to flip it back over. Trying to just get Train off this point. Barrage will come down, not find a ton right there.
Dragon Blade out here late into the fight, not going to do much at all. Train immediately taken down as he tried to get anything from it, and CLG, they recap this and just grind down LG Evil bit by bit. And they're about 2 fights away.
Silk Thread's just insane on Tracer, and this is one of Tracer's best maps. I mean, every map right now is a good Tracer map, but this one has historically always been a great map for her, able to dance around, a lot of good geography for her to use. And he's been getting 2 and 3 kills every time, and I've been most impressed with just his ability to stick pulse bombs. He's hitting such a high percentage right now.
He's doing really well, and anytime Silk Thread has subbed in for a team or played with a team, he's looked good, and this right now is really no exception. He's been remarkably consistent in here so far, and just look at how the poke battle is going on right now. CLG is doing so much damage to LG Evil before they're able to engage. They have to pop the sound barrier here, but they're not in a position where they can easily dive as much as they would have liked. That said, Shiny is down. This is an opportunity for LG Evil to keep the hope alive here. As a Vast cleaning up kills being set up by the dive. And LG Evil might not be out of this round here just yet.
No, they will take the point back over, but it's 99% for CLG. Shiny just got himself in a really rough position there. I think he was the only one who missed the sound barrier, had Primal Rage, but caught in a corner in the Mega Room. They were able to easily focus him down. You can open this up with a self-destruct over the top, or save it for the point and just put a lot of bodies over there. They are also working their way towards a barrage.
He's going for it right now, self-destruct into the air, and they're able to dodge away from it. I like the attempt nonetheless, might have been better a little bit earlier, but it forces Shake out position. Jake is able to capitalize on that. There will be no resurrection coming in this time around. He's not going to be able to build it mid-fight, and CLG, they just go for the reset.
They will go for the resets. I think incoming here, Shake needs to stay alive long enough to get to Resurrection. Silk's going to have Pulse Bomb ready. I think you can open up this push with your own self-destruct over the top two. That's what they try.
Self-destruct coming in, and Vost not able to take cover in time.
They got it.
He's got fall to that, and Hydration, plenty of room here in the back. Supports in his sights, finds Rob 420, and the D.Va coming in to suppress it just a little bit late.
They flipped the point during that time too, so right now in control is CLG at 99%. They get all the kills they need. Jake able to desuit Miso, but I don't think it's going to be enough. CLG sweeps LG Evil off Lijiang Tower, now one map away from advancing to the semifinals.
That is a very bad omen for LG Evil, where this is best at 3, and losing on Lijiang Tower, one of their best maps. Certainly not a great look here early on, and again, after what happened in Contenders, this almost feels like kicking LG Evil a little bit when they're down, but they have made pretty wide changes to how they've slotted people in on heroes, so I shouldn't be that surprised, I suppose.
Yeah, but 57% kill participation tells a bit of the story there. Silk Thread simply went off. 42 limbs.
Monstrous.
It absolutely is. And he's always been one of the best tracers. It's just a matter of what team he's going to be on, where he wants to play, and if he wants to play. Of course, making decisions after, I think he just graduated high school. I think that's the Silk Thread story. But everyone's always wanted him on their team. He's always been a great player.
No, he's been excellent, and I mean, he has been a hot commodity in Overwatch, and for CLG right now, he's certainly doing quite a bit of work. Now, this shouldn't really come as too big of a surprise given the last series and the output that LG Evil had on the map, but Hex, we are going off to Temple Anubis.
Temple of Anubis makes a world of sense for LG Evil. They had some pretty solid Sombra play, which a lot of teams struggle with the Sombra play. Be interesting to see if CLG tries to counter it, Sombra be Sombra, or if they just run a combination. I think Shake would be their Sombra. I haven't seen a ton of him on it, but, I mean, Shake does come from the old Complexity team that used to run Sombra. They used to run Nicholas on it, though. He never really got a chance to do it, but should know some strats. They were the first team to really run it consistently.
It is funny going back to the day in terms of just how far ahead of the meta Complexity was in that regard, although they ran it on offense more so than they did on defense. And
yeah,
now it's sort of shifted, we see more defense and offense, but the mechanics of how they tried to run Sombra were not entirely opposite of where people eventually brought it.
Yeah, they did just use it for pack control and things like that, and they mostly just used it for the EMP. And they played it really smart, but they played a lot of it on King's Row, and we have yet to really see a ton of Sombra on King's Row yet again.
And Hollywood. They do play a lot in Hollywood.
Exactly, in Hollywood, on those hybrid maps. So it has become a staple of Control Point at the very least, and Anubis, not surprising here that they're going to run it. The only question that I have, of course, is what does CLG try to do? I think it's become so meta and so powerful that you better have practiced it at least a little bit.
You would hope, as far as this goes here. Sombra is definitely a hero that you would like to have in your bag of tricks as any Overwatch team, and it is still a determining factor between teams that some teams can run it, some teams cannot. But this is now perhaps LG Evil's signature map, which is kind of weird to think about if you go back even 3 months, but now they're going to have a strong showing on Temple of Anubis to force a map 3 to stay alive. Otherwise, their time in this Invitational could be coming to an end sooner than you might think.
Yeah, and it's just really surprising the fall from grace that LG Evil has gone through here, and at a point in time, back in, March, which seems like an eternity ago now, they were probably one of the best teams in North America, or one of the true North American teams anyway, having North American players on it. And it's been, I don't know, we thought that the meta shifting was going to hurt them, but the meta shifting entirely towards dive seems to have hurt them the most, because there was that weird in-between era between triple tank and dive where teams were still figuring out what they wanted to run.
Right, and there was a point where LG was looking very good on swapping the dive comps of their own, but now they've done this thing where they've completely swapped who's playing what, and I just don't know if it's been as good for them here so far.
Well, this is what they're going to try to run anyway. They've already started doing it, might as well continue to do so, and it does appear that we will probably have dueling Sombras, which is what I think is smart on this map. If you're going to run Sombra on defense on second, you might as well get a head start on first. And also, it takes away the power of the offensive Sombra, and you can kind of blindly pick into that now.
Well, you can also have wars for the health packs as well, where obviously for an offensive Sombra, you would like to have your team have the ability to have a health pack, but defensive Sombra can interfere with that, and vice versa. I mean, it depends on the situation, but there is sort of the mini game of hacking wars that go on between both teams running a Sombra on high-value health packs.
Well, actually, maybe the offense is not going to run offensive Sombra. Rob has switched off, but we have, 40 seconds to go here.
I mean, I would be more interested if they actually brought out the Hog here, which we have not seen much of at all recently, particularly after his most recent change. That said, there's still plenty of time to change it up.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on it, but what are we seeing on the defense? Something that is far less likely to change up.
Defense looks pretty standard here. They're going to run the dive composition, but they're going to flex their flex support, which is, relatively new term. You have your Lucio, then you have your other support. For the most part, Lucios are doomed to be Lucios forever. Shake will be running the Sombra defensively, and even if it fails on first, I like the pick because you will have EMP for that first defense, and we know that first offensive push is usually the most likely to be successful.
Alright, so for now, we see Shake hiding up to the left. We do see the Sombra coming out here for the offense. No Roadhog, sadly, but the rest of it looking relatively standard as LG Evil rolls around this left side now early on. And now the question is, will they be able to dive in and dislodge the defense? It's actually pretty split up here. You have both dive tanks in the upper portion of the side, and the rest of the defense holding off to the side. So trying to be a little bit sneaky, but not sure it works out. Hydration gonna fall here immediately. Vol forced out, but is able to live. Now he can come back in, heal up, and make things even tougher. Or can he? Shake finishes his plate.
The surprise Sombra in the backline, you don't really expect it. It's going to be difficult for them to pull this back, though, given all the heroes that they are losing, but this is exactly why I always talk about it. Maybe I beat this point in the ground. Why running Sombra on first is good, even if you're going to lose first, because Shake is at 90%, should be there, or at least close to the EMP by the time that the defense is set up, but
look at this, though. There's absolutely no chill in this offense. They're immediately going in, but immediately falling. Rob 420 not able to stay alive with the rest of his team there, and LG Evil is going for any form of blitz offense into the backline that definitely was not going to work out the way they wanted.
Well, they're going to have to go in now and just eat the EMP. Or they could wait for Rob and try to duel EMPs and hope they get the better of it. But they know by now, given the damage that Shake did, given the kills that he got, that he's going to have EMP up, and they might just have to swallow that pill.
Very well might have to. You see the offense right now going into the left room, but let's take a look at Shake. Shake sees the entirety of them moving in there, and this is a juicy EMP target if he decides to go in. Right now, he's going to go invisible, diving onto the point, drops EMP, hits at least 4. We'll see if that's enough for the rest of the defense here as they are in hot pursuit.
It really shouldn't even matter that much. They should be able to pull back here, and they're going to have their own ultimate ready as well, so they should be able to offensively EMP next time.
That's not bad for the offense of LG Evil, if you put it in that perspective, because Shake definitely won't have the EMP up, and now if Rob 420 can drop a good EMP, that's going to be interesting for the offense. It gives Train plenty of room to work with his blade, so talk about windows, this is certainly LG Evil's window to set a very quick time here on Anubis.
Well, that's what all this map is right now, when you have dueling Sombras like that, just hoping that the next window is going to be your push, and that was a perfect push for them, knowing their circumstance.
He's nowhere near in position to drop an EMP right away. I understand he was under pressure, but that was not good.
No. And they used the sound barrier there, too.
He went the opposite of where you needed to go there, and this team's still engaged. They were down the Sombra for the entire team fight.
Yeah, and like I said, the worst part about that, they ended up using sound barrier in that fight, and they're going to be pushing into now EMP, very likely a sound barrier of their own. The switch will come on as Train goes to the Reaper, one of the few maps that we saw Reaper on even before he got his changes, and some would call improvements.
Well, now it's much more even going to this fight, and LG Evil gonna get the EMP special right in their face. CLG turning this room into a room of death and then some. Well executed off of the EMP, and if there was a window for LG Evil, it's
just... window of Anubis, we might as well call it, when you have these two things, so their next push, they will have an EMP of their own, and perhaps better executed this time.
Well, we will have to see in any case. Oh man, I'm still recovering from what happened earlier, but now the question is, for LG Evil, how do you break through here? You do need a really good EMP to start out, and then I do like to switch off the Reaper in the very least. It gives them more options there, but Now we just watch Rob 420 and see if he can get a good initiation on this EMP.
That is going to be the important moment. He's not quite invisible yet. Just going to roll in with his team. Maybe they speed boost him here. He's looking for packs, but yeah, there's his one.
He's moving right in, has the EMP at the ready. And for now, drops it, hits 2 towards the back. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, but it does set up Vol. Vol's able to get 2 right on it, so with Train still alive, this is where you can get cleanup. They have to endure the Dragon Blade into Barrier, though, which Hydration has killed 2, and it might be enough to let the defense reestablish here.
I think you can stay in this fight maybe just to try to get a tick, because you haven't lost that much. You haven't lost... and Jake's going to be back in here now. He was the first kill on the defensive side of things, but he goes down yet again. But if they can sneak out a tick, then maybe it's worth it. Any bit of percentage points.
Indeed, and so Thread coming back in, able to hold, get 2 kills here, and CLG holding firm as, for now, it's a little bit tough here for LG Evil.
Yeah, Silk yet again being the saving grace there, and now they know that this window is very likely closed. They're going to have to push into an EMP. The one thing I like about running Reaper is that he's not all that affected by EMP. It's still just kind of WM1 in some of those situations, right? Wraith Walk is probably his best ability. You don't really need Shadow Step all that much. Of course it does nerf his ultimate, he's not able to use it there, but he's a good hero against EMP.
Definitely is, and for LG Evil right now, they're coming in off the same approach here that they've used before, and maybe they're hoping this is a case where Train can come in, get a good Death Blossom to set this up. They do get the early initial kill, but the defense is swarming on them from multiple angles at the moment. They have to back out a little bit. Still taking it bit by bit. EMP comes down from the defense, and so far has not done enough. LG Evil's still able to keep on the pressure, and this might be what they're looking for.
Well, absolutely, they get a couple kills, the self-destruct comes in, and they will get 1. Now that is 2 ticks. Progress will come in, but a nice Primal Rage should come in and stall off the point. A good EMP towards the end, though, will keep the kills in favor of LG Evil.
LG Evil keeping the pressure on right now. Silk Thread, though, is one that's bringing it back into the backline, picked off 2, and now might be enough to just keep CLG in this fight and then some. And that's the power of Tracer. Even in a fight where the offense is doing well, if the Tracer's just able to get out, get 1 or 2 kills, you can easily flip it back as only a minute 30 remains.
Well, they did get 66%, and that will stay. Well, actually 79% grand total, but the progress will not reset below 66. They have to push into EMP. A little over a minute and 10 remain now. They have ults here to work with, and it's just a matter of who can dodge Shake's EMP. I think a boss needs to be hiding, and then if they get EMP'd, you Sound Barrier immediately after.
Alright, so Train sitting here on the backside, still has the Death Blossom in reserve, can't really throw it out as freely as you might want here. And as you mentioned, they still have to worry about the EMP in this situation where Shake can come in, drop it, and they lose Shake immediately. So already playing on the back foot, and yeah, they can't do anything. They have to disengage.
Yeah, Train tries to Shadow Step his way out, gets shurikens to the spine for his efforts. Last push incoming for the offense to try to close this one out, and again, they're going to have to push into a lot here. Most notably, in Temple of EMP, it's going to be Electromagnetic Pulse from Sombra.
And why not? Well, Shake right now holding on to EMP as CLG is looking at potentially a very solid hold here on Temple of Anubis first.
Oh, Rob should be able to get there, though. Rob should be able to get his EMP.
Rob is close, but he's had a rough time getting the engages he's wanted here so far. Shake, is he going to go into the room right now? No, he's going for the kill on the Jake. Jake in hot pursuit, able to get to help back in time. That's going to force Shake back. Meanwhile, the rest of LG Evil coming in from the side. We'll see just how this works out. Shake holds on to the EMP. Self-destruct going to be zoning people out first. Still holds on to the EMP reserve. 2 members of LG Evil way in the back right now. They had to fully disengage. And Shake just drops the EMP onto the front. Still, though, the disengage works out. They have the Sound Barrier up, and LG Evil still very healthy here and on the point. Looking for a little bit more, and now Train can just stay alive. This is where Reaper can really clean up.
But he cannot. Silk Thread finds him. Tracer v Reaper generally favors Tracer in these situations, and when it's Silk Thread, even more so. They will try to fight because what other choice do they have? But with overtime, I mean, defensive spawns aren't that great in overtime, but they might have lost too much already.
It's possible. We're in overtime, and the defense is re-solidifying bit by bit here. Jake going to fall down to the hack from Shake right in the back. And Jake actually making the Sombra work for cleanup there. That's going to be hold at 79% on last.
So win condition rather easy for CLG to move on. They just have to finish Anubis. You know, I say that, but I don't really mean it. Like, finishing Anubis is easy.
So they say, so they say. Well, we're going to do a quick restart real quick to fix some issues that apparently have propped up, but we'll be back in just the second half of Temple of Anubis. Hex, are you with me?
I am, I hope. I always want to be with you. Yeah. The problem is, and I think we can really chalk up to a lot of our issues today, is we don't have the luck of left guy. Good old Gilfrost is not with us.
If only, well, I mean, the problem is I'm the new left guy right now.
Yeah, you're nothing near the old left guy.
Hey, just because I don't have rings, I was left guy before left guy was left guy.
I was middle guy after middle guy was middle guy. What does that mean?
I don't know what that means. But we are back in game. And some of the issues that we were having should be fixed. The after effects of having your power go out, apparently. But either way, we are getting into the attack here for CLG, and CLG doesn't have that much to do here, X. I mean, they do have to get through most of second, but with how strong they've been playing, they get a lot of time to go for that.
Yeah, and they can just go with what works for them, and oftentimes you'll see a Sombra trying to get her work done, but it's really hard to translocate out of a damage-boosted rocket. Sometimes the damage just comes in too hot and heavy for him, and if you can end a Sombra's life early on first, it means that you're going to have a good push right onto second.
Indeed, and CLG right now taking their time here on this approach, not deep diving immediately, but it's hydration coming in on the flank, and that's going to be followed through by the dive. And now, looking to delodge the supports here in the upper part, gets a Winston in his face for the trouble, has to back out, but none the worse for the wear. Pressure being applied here, and they do get down Vol after a time. 2 kills here for CLG, and this is looking like a very good opening assault.
Shiny has been a monster all day, continues to do so. Rob will get a couple of kills late, though, so that means that EMP will be up for second push if this first push does succeed. Defensively, yeah, they're going to have EMP up, but first point very much over. Rob just gives up the ghost right there.
There is one upside that you like pointing to here, Hex, is that Rob will have the EMP for his first defense at the very least on to point B. But the question is Rob comfortable enough to get a good EMP off based on some of the stuff that we saw in the last round? It's questionable.
It is, and I don't know, you should win this fight with EMP up, right? But Silk Thread is lurking with Pulse Bomb, they still have a threat over the sky. I like the entry over right side, I still think it's the best way to do it. EMP comes off from Rob early, grabs a lot of people, good positioning there on that EMP.
The EMP worked out, it did enough to get Mikado taken down in the beginning, and that gives plenty of room for Vol to dive in and pick up 3 towards the very end. No disengage this time around for CLG.
Yeah, okay, I was talking about how I like coming in right side, but all of the entries for Anubis are difficult to go through. They're all pretty heavy chokes, and you don't want to split up on your entry, which is one of the main reasons that it's been so good for Sombra. You can get 5-man, 6-man EMPs rather easily.
You can indeed, and this time for CLG coming in this attack, they don't really have a whole lot going for them in terms of ultimates. We do have a swap up though. Silk Thread going to everyone's favorite cowboy. McCree is coming in, and again, this is LG Evil's playbook being used against him. They used to love running McCree on second point Anubis. We'll see if it works out here as he finds Rom 420 immediately. And that's no translocating away from that, and that's a signal to go. They drop the barrier, and they are doubling down on this attack.
And that's why you run it. The only real way to defeat a Sombra is by using crowd control or stuns. That's right there. However, Hydration and Silk Thread will fall afterwards. Now only 4 men up to try to continue this push. Shake will res them. No, not over yet.
Resurrection is in. Hydration is up in more ways than one. Going to the backline. Barrage armed and at the ready. And he's going to use it on a Vost here. He was looking for it. Right down, and no, there's no point anymore. The rest of the fight did not go their way, so that's going to be a full reset here for CLG.
Really nice patience there from Rob, though, to wait post-resurrection. You kind of have to have the feeling that it's going to be around, and then the post-resurrection EMP completely shut that fight down. Silk Thread is going to have the Deadeye up. Of course, Deadeye got some new improvements and changes, works a little bit faster now. No Electric Cowboy, though, so Silk Thread going to stay on this McCree.
I mean, I'm willing to see the McCree impress me here. It would be great if it did, just because we've seen less McCree. And look at that, the barrage over the top cuts right through the shield.
Nice.
It is a 2K here for Hydration, and he's looking for more. Opens the door. You know who's good at cleaning up people in this sort of situation, Hex?
McCree. Yeah. And with both tanks out of it especially, that means no defense matrix, no bubble he has to work with, but no, McCree be damned, it's still Hydration. A late EMP comes out, a desperate EMP from Rob, and they continue to clean up.
EMP turns back time. It was high noon, and now it's not noon, or it puts time forward. Either way, it canceled the Deadeye, but Silk Thread, none worse for the wear, cleaning up at will right now. This is some vintage McCree play coming out here, gunning down LG Evil as they try and get through. Silk Thread is on fire.
Well, they've already got 2 ticks, so the push has been very good. At the very least, they will 4 minutes. They do not need it. CLG takes Temple of Anubis, sends LG Evil home on day 1 of the Overwatch Beat Invitational Season 2.
Wow. That was something coming out from CLG where we knew they looked strong because of how they put up a fight against Immortals, but that was decisive. And Hex, I'm going to throw back a little bit to earlier in the day where we wondered, is this CLG or is this Immortals? And we said a little bit of both. CLG making the argument that it was more CLG than Immortals for what we saw earlier in the day.
Flashbang, aka Pocket Sand, very good against Sombra. That's what you see right there. This is one of the reasons Roadhog used to be good on entry here. The CC of the stun, the hook, and the finish. Silk Thread crushing it today on multiple heroes, and this CLG team